If you get into a conversation with someone about which country makes the best watches in the world, Switzerland and Japan are going to be the two that come up first, but a close third would have to be Germany. Home to impressive luxury brands like A. Lange & Söhne and Glashütte Original, as well as more tool watch-oriented and historic brands like Stowa and Sinn. German watches are renowned for their precision and excellence in engineering. And while the small town of Glashütte is home to Germany's most storied luxury brands, the birthplace of German watchmaking is actually the industrial town of Pforzheim, which is also the location of a lot of Germany's more affordable brands. And today we'll be taking a look at the German brand Circula, which is based in Pforzheim and aims to make excellent German watches at an affordable price. Let's take a look. Hey guys, welcome back to Just Watch. My name's Dave. I live in Japan and I love to collect affordable watches. And one of the fun things about running this channel is that as it's grown, I've been getting more and more opportunities to check out watches that are a little bit outside of the affordable price range to kind of see what the difference is and what is offered at these higher price ranges. Today we'll be taking a look at the DiveSport Titanium from Circula, which retails for around $1,000 direct from them. And while that's a lot higher than a lot of the micro brands and budget-oriented watches that I typically look at, it's actually pretty affordable when it comes to German-made watches, especially with the specifications that this one packs in. And in addition to that, Circula is a brand that has a rich history going back nearly 70 years. This is a family-run business. It's now being run by the grandson of the founder, Heinz Huber. And with that long history comes a level of experience and expertise that is often difficult to find in the microbrand world. Circula aims to make watches that will last generations when properly cared for, and they seek to do it at a relatively affordable price. However, before we continue, I do need to mention that this watch was given to me by Circula to facilitate this review. However, other than the watch itself, I did not receive any additional compensation, nor did Circula have any control over the content of this review. So with that said, let's jump in and take a look at the Circula DiveSport Titanium. My very first impression upon opening the box was that I thought everything was a little bit underwhelming. Particularly when I looked at the dial, I noticed that the markers are fairly flat. There's not a lot of height there, which I typically like to see. But I got over that pretty quick, and I soon became very impressed with the level of precision and crispness evident in every aspect of the design. Everything from the machining of the case, to the application of those markers, to the printing on the dial and the dial texture and the hands. It just seems a little bit sharper and more in focus than I'm used to with other watches. The sapphire crystal is incredibly clear and offers a great view on that dial. And there's a lot to appreciate with the design of the hands and the dial. They are incredibly legible and they have a lot of nice little design flourishes as well. We'll get into that more in a minute, but I want to start by focusing on the build and the specifications that have gone into this. This is a titanium dive watch that features an incredibly impressive 500 meters of water resistance. And the grade 2 titanium used on the case and bracelet has been hardened to 1200 Vickers, making it more scratch resistant than stainless steel. And powering this watch is the Swiss Sellita SW200 automatic movement in the Elaboré grade, which means that Sellita has adjusted the movement in 3 positions, ensuring an accuracy of plus or minus 7 seconds per day in each position, and an overall average accuracy of no more than plus or minus 20 seconds per day. On top of that, Circula themselves also tests and regulates each movement before they send it out, to make absolutely sure that you're going to be getting that accuracy when you receive the watch. And this is one of a number of things that Circula does that I think not only justifies the price, but even makes it a pretty attractive price for everything that's offered here. It's almost impossible to find a German-made dive watch with these specs and with this build quality and attention to detail in it for this price. The build quality on this watch is top-notch. The threading on the crown is very smooth. It's very easy to discern the individual positions of the crown for time setting and date setting and hand winding, and the bezel feels very solid as well. And if you do opt to go with the titanium bracelet, that also is really well manufactured with a very high quality clasp that, again, also just functions flawlessly. Let's move on and talk a little bit about the actual dimensions of this watch and how it wears. This is a mid-sized dive watch at 42 millimeters in diameter. And with a total height of 14 millimeters, it does look a little bit chunky, but that's to be expected for a dive watch that can handle 50 atmospheres of pressure. And because the watch is made out of titanium, it is surprisingly light and it doesn't feel like a big bulky watch at all. Sized up for me on the titanium bracelet, it comes in at only 130 grams, which is significantly lighter than my Orient Komatsu, which weighs 160 grams. And if you go with the rubber strap, it drops all the way down to 93 grams. And that's kind of the beauty of titanium and why I'm so glad they went with that choice of metal here. I normally don't like watches this tall, but this one I had absolutely no problem at all with wearing. It is one of the most comfortable dive watches that I've ever worn. And when you start looking at the design, there's even more to like. Probably the thing about the design that impressed me the most was how function forward this was. This is a tool watch through and through. The specs obviously support that, but the design really hammers this home. It features a giant, oversized Proplof style minute hand, simple and highly legible, high contrasting markers with long bars that reach into the chapter ring at 12, 3, 6, and 9, and double bars at 12, and then circles at every other hour, and an easy to read, fully lumed bezel. And on top of all this, you're getting some truly impressive lume, which makes the watch just as easy to read in the dark as it is during the day. All of these elements come together in such a way so that you will always be able to easily tell the time, with an even greater emphasis on rapidly and easily reading the elapsed time for diving. And there's a certain kind of elegance to this function-first design that I really appreciate. It's simple and uncluttered and delivers on its intent not just to provide a great timepiece, but to provide a tool that would be useful to professional divers. But that's not to say this is a boring or plain design by any means. Although it's clear function was the main priority in the design here, once that was taken care of, Circula also added a lot of very interesting, fun, great little design flourishes, which add to the appeal of the watch without hindering any of the functionality. This is especially true if you opt for some of the more fun colorways, such as the bluish-green petrol dial or the yellow-tinged Madame Jeanette. Both of those sacrifice a little bit of contrast for some bright and fun color options. But I opted for the most serious of the bunch, going with the black dial. But even on the black dial, I really like the way they've used accent colors and textures to really kind of liven things up a little bit. I've always appreciated orange accents on a black tool watch, so I really like the big orange minute hand as well as the orange tip on that very long second hand, which stretches all the way to the chapter ring, which also has some nice orange accents with these kind of orange ruler style markings delineating each minute or second. The dial itself has a matte look that doesn't reflect any light, but if you look closely, it does have a very subtle texture to it, as well as a subtle circular groove on the inner part of the dial. That circular groove combined with the very long bars at 12, 3, 6, and 9 kind of suggest a sector dial, but it's very subtle and makes for an interesting design motif that both ties into Circula's name and doesn't distract from the legibility in any way. I also think they did a great job with the date. It is tucked down at 6 o'clock and color matched to the dial, so it's very unnoticeable. But when you need to read the date, it's right there and still legible. So I think it works great in that design. Before we move over to the case, strap, and bracelet, let's take a closer look at the lume. After dark, you get a very bright glow with a pleasing combination of both blue and green glowing elements. They did something clever here by making the minute hand and the bezel glow green. This makes it even easier to distinguish the elements that are tracking your dive times underwater, as you'll be able to easily line up that large green hand with the green markings on the bezel, without any possibility of confusing the hands or the bezel for the dial, as the hour hand and dial markers are loomed in a blue glowing BGW9. So this lume layout both looks cool and is very functional, and it's extremely bright. When I put it through my J-score tests, it scored a 17, which I think puts it into the top 5 of all watches that I've ranked. So once again, great attention to detail here. They're just really dialing everything in on this watch. Let's step back a bit and take a look at the case design. The case has a kind of industrial feel to it, with a lot of flat surfaces and angles. On the crown side, you have some very angular and big, tough-looking crown guards that offer a lot of protection to the oversized crown. But because this is a 7mm crown that is very large, it's still very easy to grip and operate. The knurling on the crown really helps you get a good grip on it in any condition, and it matches the knurling on the bezel, which is likewise easy to grip in all conditions and easy to operate. The bezel action is very solid, but it is a titanium bezel, which never feels quite as smooth as a stainless steel bezel for some reason. You can just feel a lot more of the vibrations in your fingers as the bezel ratchets around. As you would expect, it's a very solid 120-click unidirectional rotating bezel. And while this is a very industrial and almost minimalist case styling, they've done some interesting flourishes with the lugs by adding a lot of facets and even these little small protrusions at the base of them. And they've also opted to go with 20mm lug openings instead of 22mm, which is a little bit narrower than I think you'd normally find on a 42mm watch like this. I think it gives the watch a little bit more of an interesting silhouette that's maybe a little bit more sophisticated. And I think that enhances the comfort a bit by allowing you to go with a little bit thinner band as well. Flipping the watch all the way over, you're going to find a very beefy case back that is deeply embossed. The center of the case back boasts the titanium construction of the case, with what appears to be an embossed image of an underwater cave would be my guess what that is. I'm not entirely sure, but it looks pretty cool. Finally, moving on to the strap and bracelet options, both are excellent. With the rubber strap, they went the extra mile of giving you fitted ends to it, so there's going to be no gaps between the strap and the case of the watch, and that also allows the strap to conform to your wrist maybe a little bit better than it otherwise would. It's a very comfortable, high-quality sculpted rubber strap, and they've included matching titanium hardware on the buckle as well. Now, if you opt to pay extra for the titanium bracelet, they will still include this rubber strap, so I really like to see that. Because honestly, I'm not sure which one I like it better on. I think I will be swapping between the rubber strap and the bracelet every once in a while. And it's fairly easy to do that because both the rubber strap and the bracelet have quick release spring bars. The rubber strap is the more comfortable of the two, and I do like that black strap with the titanium case. But the titanium bracelet is also excellent and almost as comfortable as the rubber strap because it is a very well articulating titanium bracelet. This is an H-link bracelet that has some nice angles on the inside of the links, and it features the same scratch-resistant coating as the case. The bracelet also has a slight taper to it, dropping down to 18mm of the clasp, which contributes to that comfort on the wrist. Sizing the bracelet is very easy because this features screw pins on each link, and the clasp features 3 positions for micro adjustments, which make it pretty easy to get a good fit. Now, I was a little bit disappointed that they didn't include a tool-free micro adjust clasp. This is a traditional clasp. You will need a spring bar tool to adjust the micro adjust holes on it. And this has become almost a common feature on micro brand watches costing significantly less than this watch. And it was a bit of a jarring reminder that this watch does operate in a different category than I'm used to looking at. But on the plus side, the clasp functions extremely smoothly. It's one of the best traditional clasps that I've used. Nothing sticks or gets stuck. It just works perfectly. And that's kind of how I would summarize almost everything on this watch. You can really see that Circula has gone to great lengths to ensure that everything on this watch is as perfect as they can make it. And this is an area where I think Circula's history, reputation, and expertise really starts to show its value. With nearly 70 years of experience producing watches in the Pforzheim region of Germany, Circula has developed relationships with suppliers and manufacturers. They know the kinds of parts that they're after and how to get them and who to go to get them from. And they take great care in assembling their watches. Every part is inspected prior to the assembly of the watch to ensure that it is in perfect condition. Each movement is tested and regulated in-house, and Circula tests the water resistance of every single watch before they ship it out to you. And this level of personalized care and testing is something that you just don't really see in the more budget-oriented realm. These are things you can't really do if your goal is to keep the costs as low as absolutely possible. And I think that's an appealing proposition if you're looking to kind of pay a little bit more money to get a better product. This watch from Circula is significantly more expensive than most of the dive watches that I typically take a look at here on the channel. But again, compared to comparably spec'd German-made dive watches, this is about as low as you're going to be able to find one. And it feels like the best built dive watch that I've ever gotten in for review. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this review for today. Thanks for stopping by and taking a look. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this watch from Circula. And if you have any firsthand experience with Circula watches, definitely drop me a comment down below. Let me know what that experience is, whether it's been good or bad. I always like to get a broader perspective on some of these brands that I'm just getting to know for the first time myself. But for me, the watch they sent over made a very good first impression. If you're interested in purchasing a watch from Circula, I'll leave a link to their website down below. While you're checking out other websites, why don't you head over to mine as well at justthewatch.com. You can get some sweatshirts or t-shirts with cool designs like this one, as well as check out some written reviews that I'm starting to post there as well. But that will wrap it up for today. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you later. Bye.